Hello. So welcome to our first installment of Design 101. I'm here with the engineers from the digital experience team in inbound marketing. Over the past few quarters, our engineers have been patiently, very patiently teaching designers on our team how to Git. So this quarter, we're flipping things around and we're going to teach design engineers a little bit about UX and design. So today I'm going to be running through some Figma basics because we got to start somewhere. A bit about me, for those who don't know me who are watching, I'm a user experience designer on the digital experience team. I am not a Figma guru. I only recently started using Figma while onboarding onto GitLab tools. I do prefer it now to the tools I was using before. So anyways, I may not hold all the answers to the questions. I'm probably going to fumble around the interface because you're watching me and because we're recording. But that's okay. We're all here to learn together. Um, long intro. I'm going to share my screen. Should be seeing the agenda right now. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the survey. So I sent out a survey. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer that. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to go rogue with this workshop. I have a better understanding of how everyone uses Figma. There are a couple things that kind of stood out to me that while I have all of you, I just kind of wanted to discuss in the discuss items here. So you use Figma, obviously, to view designs, pull design specifications, spec values, and export SVGs. Something that stood out is some of you said, I don't pull CSS values from Figma because they're predetermined by slippers, and some of you says you do. So just for us designers, just to understand your process, when you do cross-reference with Tailwind, which one is your source of truth? Do you change the design to accommodate the code to accommodate the design, or do you use Tailwind? What's there?
I usually grab whatever, I look at what the design says, like if it's a color or like a box shadow is a big one. Then I'll look for it in Tailwind and grab whatever is closest in Tailwind. Usually all the colors are there, but like box shadows, I'll try and grab whatever the closest value is that exists in Tailwind just to avoid kind of bloating our Tailwind configuration file so that there's so many different box shadows. That's me.
That's great. So if you see a value, we got rid of all the black values. So if you see something that accidentally crept in that's black, you're still going to use the 333 value. You're not going to be like, oh, this one type thing needs to be black. Cool. Exporting icons, and this is also with partner logos and all kinds of things. I do find that this process is clunky. You're using Figma to export icons that already exist in a repo. I just want to find ways to work together. Maybe we link to icons that are already in the repo just to get rid of that step. This can be an ongoing process conversation, but I do find it unnecessary to do that. But maybe I'm wrong. Any opinions there?
I find our icon process is a disaster right now. We have them duplicated multiple places. There's PNGs, there's SVGs. They're everywhere in the www repo. And we also have, there's this whole other repo where they're all, whoa, maybe we should use that. And yeah, we got to improve upon that. And the logos file, I found logos that were scattered in various places for our partner pages. And they were using PNG ones. And then I looked a little deeper. It's oh, here's the actual official partner logo in SVG. And we should have that in one place. So if it gets updated, one place, update everywhere on the website.
Yeah, I came across that with Laura too, where it took a whole day to find the logos on the repo, link to them if they existed. If they didn't, create a new logo. All right.
I would call this closet organization. Where you organize everything, make it all color coded. I don't know, but it'd be a separate project and would need to get prioritized for us to do, or someone just hacks away at it for a day.
Sounds good. There is a GitLab, moving on, GitLab Figma plugin. I heard you, Barker, loud and clear. I've used it. There are so many pros there are a few cons. So we're going to reevaluate how to use this plugin. I think the biggest concern after talking to our other designers is that it exports single PNGs, and that kind of gets confusing. They constantly need to be updated and archived. But we do see the value of keeping conversations in issues. So I just want to note that we're looking into that, and we're going to see if we can make it work for us. Lastly, I also saw some comments about comments.
One thing I wanted to add there on that one. This would be a great opportunity for you to contribute back to GitLab and say, hey, this plugin's great. We just need this thing.
That's a great, yeah, we will do that. Comments, I saw some comments about some of you being confused about comments, which comments they should be looking at, all of that. We're gonna, as the designers on a team, like be better at this, but you shouldn't be really needing to refer to the commenting tool unless you ask the comment and are waiting for, you asked a question and are waiting for an answer. And even then, we encourage those discussions to be in the issue, just for tracking, though comments can come in from everywhere. So when there's like a really important conversation being had on a component or whatever, we will do our best to get those into the READMEs. So you don't even have to really refer to that tool. So I saw a little bit of frustration there in the survey. All right, let's move on to the work file. Feel free to stop and ask questions anytime. I really want to run through this quickly because I know we've got a lot of stuff going on today. So click on this Figma link. I don't see anyone in there yet. Oh, I see Laura. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly show you that there is a Figma desktop app. Some of you may or may not know that it exists. It's totally your call. Doesn't matter which one you use. I prefer desktop, but I know that you mostly access Figma files through links, not opening Figma and then looking for stuff, is what I understood from the survey. There are just very small differences, one of which is the home. So I just wanted to call that out. So in the interface here, if you're looking for other projects outside of the projects we link to, in the browser app, you click here. On the desktop app, it's home, which is a lot more intuitive. I don't think anyone probably really uses this part of the interface, so I'm just going to show you really quickly for anyone. There were some comments about file management, can't find files. So here in home, right here is our group, Experience Design within GitLab. These are all the projects that were created by either Jess, myself, or Stephen, and in past projects. I use Recents a lot. That's pretty much, I live in Recents. That's how I find files that I'm working in recently. So that might be useful to you, maybe not. It's useful for me. I'm going to pull the agenda to the other side so I can follow stay on track here. Oh, all right. Let's go into the file. So you're all in this file. You can do whatever you want in here. I'm just gonna show you a couple things. Click on whatever you want. Layers over here. Most of you are familiar with this. This is where we keep our work. Usually, Nathan, this might be new to you. If you see a little ship icon, it indicates that this is where we want engineers to be when we ship something. And then we've got assets here. Just really wanted to quickly show you the difference between the layers and the assets, just so you understand sometimes why things are the way they are in Figma. Assets are connected to slippers. So if I want a button or a resource card, I'll pull it from here. And then if I want to edit that card, you probably won't need to do this. I click on this icon here, and it takes me to slippers. So that's why sometimes when you're in our file, you can't really access something. It's because it lives in a different file, like here. And then if I want to edit all of the cards, I would edit it in slippers. What else is in here?
I have a quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
So the slippers foundations is almost like a library. It's just slippers that you can use on any new Figma file that you're using.
Exactly. So
Oh, okay.
here's the
Perfect.
library here. So this little book in the assets, you might want to actually check your settings. Thanks for bringing that up. Because by default, for me, product design library is turned on and the brand design library is turned on. This is too many things. So I turn them off unless I need them. And I only turn on the slippers foundation.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Also wanted to show you the difference between pulling things from slippers and these types of components here. So I'm going to zoom in here. This is a component that I created. So the reason it is the way it is because I don't want to have to recreate things. So I created like a master component with all kinds of things that are tied to other components. So when I want to do quick iterations, I don't have to mess around with things. This is why, again, so many things are grouped, which I imagine it can be very frustrating for engineers to look for things in grouped things. So here, this component lives inside my files. The reason that is, see, it lives inside my file here in component, and then I can change a color, and it'll change that one color. So the reason that is because for now, that doesn't live in slippers. Why doesn't it live in slippers? Just because it was created for this page. It's not perfect, but it is the way it is. Whereas these cards live in slippers. Any questions about components? Okay, so let's look at this panel here now. So this is probably the panel you're most familiar with. Inspect. Everyone said they use inspect. That's cool. I'll give you a run through of the design panel real quick, just to show you where things come from for us. And this will answer some of those, oddities about like, well, is it Tailwind? It's in this. So we only have access to the slippers type stack because of, I turned on that library. Sometimes we have to create a new thing, or sometimes we bring things over. It doesn't coincide with it. And, maybe that's just quick iterations. We just missed it. It accidentally is black. So I'm glad to hear that you use Tailwind when you access these files. Everything in our files is predetermined by slippers, including the grid. So that we only have these two grid options that are determined by slippers. Colors. So if I go to here, you see this grayscale. I can only choose from slippers, so on and so forth. So when you inspect it, you also see these types of values. So you'll see, this is a perfect example here. You see this is body 2. That exists in Tailwind. Body 2 is body 2. I had to create this new thing because this is obviously a special thing. So then you'd have to inspect this and figure out what it is. It's probably not going to be moved into our type stack because it's like a snowflake. Any questions about that?
I think the text drives me crazy because, yeah, you'll see like body 2 or like heading XXL or whatever, but like in our Tailwind, we call them like slippers text extra small, slippers text small, slippers text based, medium, large, extra. Like it doesn't quite, like it's not mapped to like display. Like I always have to look at what the actual font size and weight and whatever is and try and match it to what do we have in slippers, because like
so why don't we match slippers to Tailwind? It'll be way easier because slippers type, we just have to change them once here.
Yeah, because our Tailwind like class names that we use, we can't reuse display heading and display heading. Like you've got display heading as a heading and display heading as like a base. Like we can't call them the same thing. So yeah, figuring out what to call those might be a little bit better so that they map perfectly to Tailwind.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just making a note of that. And there's a bunch of spelling mistakes. Ignore. Cool, cool. Where are we? Okay, with time, inspect. So I'm not going to walk through the inspector because you know how to use it. I just really wanted to show you how it relates to the design panel that we use. So, and speaking of group components and all of that, I've listed some like keyboard shortcuts that could be really helpful. I heard some frustrations there, especially with these components that it's hard to kind of get to them. So command is your bestie over here. Command is going to get you everywhere you need to go. So in fact, when you're in the file, just hold command. If you could just like, you can just like put a weight on it or something, give your finger a break. Command is your friend. I don't know if everyone knows about Alt hover. So when you're in something, Alt hover will give you the spacing values. So it red lines. So you can try that. You do have to click in the item you want to see the redlining for. So hopefully that works. And also I'm on a Mac. I don't know if the commands are different. You can always Google that. How's everyone doing with the Alt? Is it working? Cool, cool, cool. I find these grid and ruler commands confusing because they're different from ones I've used in the past. So Control G brings up the grid. This is like the most important thing to reference. Ruler, you can use, I don't have any rulers in here, but if you want the ruler, it's Shift R. I don't know if I'm controlling your rulers, but you can try it out. And then again, command for dragging. And spacebar for dragging. Ungrouping items. I don't think with the command, there were questions about that with the command control, you need to really ungroup items. It's tricky with these components to ungroup them because you have to detach them from their thing. And then if they get updated, so I wouldn't recommend ungrouping anything you see in the files, but Brendan had requested like a different file to kind of ungroup everything. So you could always make more places in here by clicking this plus. It wouldn't bother us at all, and just name it whatever, and you can copy files in there and dismantle them if you need to. But hopefully our files aren't so complicated that you have to do that. Yeah, that's it. I'm early. I talk so fast. But I do want to have a Q&A session if anyone has questions, is confused about something that I went over.
That command trick is very, very helpful because yeah, I'm constantly like double clicking and like to try and get deeper and deeper into like the actual layer that I'm looking for. That's
command.
So
cool. Almost everyone wrote that. So
I have a general question in the design panel, because right now you're in the inspect panel, but in the design panel, if you click on like maybe like the whole page, yeah, that auto layout thing, it's right below.
This,
yeah, I click that sometimes when I think it's the grid and everything jumps around and it stresses me out. And I have to like Control Z, Control. Yeah.
Avoid auto layout. Auto layout is to control items and components. So auto layout is set that every item in here, except for the grid, is tied to the top.
Gotcha.
But it's also tied to the left so that we can do mobile and desktop versions without having to create more components. So auto layout is something we have to play around with buttons as well. There's a bunch of auto layout and buttons so that we can figure out the padding around them. Yeah, so maybe don't touch that.
Yeah, I try not to. I just always think like, oh, layout, grid, got it. And then I click it and then everything moves, sirens in the background, like everything's a huge stressful thing.
Yeah, I don't know why the grid isn't labeled grid. The only way to access it is to access I wrote here artboard frame. To me, it's always going to be an artboard, but Figma calls it a frame. So if you want to see these, high level things, just click on the frame and then it should show up. What you're looking for should show up.
Thank you.
Any other buttons, like I don't imagine you use many of these. I know, Javi, you said like you seem to use Figma to also design, so you're probably familiar with most of these things. Comments are here for anyone who's looking for them. That's it. That's all we got.
I actually had a quick question,
Yeah.
but it's not related to, it's kind of related to our workflow. Have you all ever like done like an exploration to like plugins and whatnot that maybe would be useful for our team?
Me personally or anyone?
Just anyone. Like, have you heard of anyone? Because I know there's like a ton of plugins out there, so I'm not sure like what are ones that you like or ones that like you use, especially like here at GitLab.
I don't use many plugins, mostly because we use slippers so much that you don't really need it. I think that the like GitLab plugin is pretty cool. It just needs a few improvements to work for our team. But if you have some recommendations for plugins that will maybe make your workflow easier, post them in this document.
And then Laura called out in the comments, Cards Against Humanity plugin or Cards for Humanity.
Yeah, we're going off topic. It's just like if you want like a cool card, like I can drag this into my thing. You can it's just a game, really.
Cool.
Accessibility game.
A plugin that like I'd like to see, I think it existed at one point, maybe, was connecting changes to Figma to Git commits, merge requests, and that whole workflow. But the company I saw that was doing it went out of business. So.
Okay. Yeah, and how would that work with that? You know, let's talk about that for a second. Like, would we just say, hey, this Figma file, this Figma frame is ready, and that specific frame gets tied to that merge request rather than an issue as it is now. Right now it gets tied to an issue.
Yeah, exactly. And you could track the changes to that frame and everyone that collaborated on it, have the discussions there. And then once it's shipped, merged, then it's in the final Figma repo.
I can see that being more useful than the in issue for us, for the way we work, is it tied to a merge request. Mm-hmm.
Future state, 5 years.
5 years. Any other questions? All right, thank you for your time. I've lost Zoom, so I'm just gonna kind of chit chat until I find the buttons. There we go. And I will stop recording once I find that button. Thank you.